How many Democrats are there in here tonight? How many libertarians are there in here tonight? Independents? Think about it. There's a fundamental flaw in the way we think, just as the starting point for our interaction with our society and government. In level 2, we take those assumptions that are slightly changed, right? Folks who've taken the class, just a slight change in level 1, right? You feel like you're mentally waterboarded after level 1? Yeah. We do that on purpose. We have to change the way you think about your assumptions regarding power and governance. In level 2, we work on your language. How many of you guys are tired of going to the meetings where you're talking about the fear and the tyranny, Barack Obama, the disgusting nature of politics and the corruption and the... Yeah, me too. Okay? Let me ask you guys a question. Do you know what the language of liberty sounds like? I know that everyone in here understands what the language of captivity sounds like. But what about the language of liberty? So Thomas Jefferson, we just discovered this letter 2 weeks ago. He's talking about why he wrote the Declaration of Independence. And in this letter, he basically says, look, it's not because we read some book or we found some new principle. Very simple. It was simply to express the American mind with the proper tone and spirit of the occasion. Right? What does liberty sound like? I'm going to repeat Washington's words. The preservation of the sacred fire of liberty and the destiny of the Republican form of government are staked on the experiment and trusted into the hands of the American people. Does that sound like captivity or liberty? Okay, now his actions matched it. Let's go to John Adams. John Adams, in his first inaugural address, he says, I venture to say, by apology, if a constitution formed on principle, right, I would venture to say, and he went on for about 5.5 paragraphs of if this and if that and if that. If I could follow your wishes, I will do everything in my power to do so. In reference to the American people. Does that sound like captivity or liberty? Thomas Jefferson, the third president. Every difference of opinion is not a difference of principle. We've called by brethren different names of the same principle. We are all Republicans. And then he says, if there be any among us who wish to dissolve this union, let them stand undisturbed as monuments of the safety, where it may be tolerated, where reason is left free to combat it. Does that sound like captivity or liberty? Right? The language of liberty has a certain tone and a spirit to it. When you're speaking the language of captivity, you're actually producing the energy and the mass behind continuing the train towards whatever it is you guys are afraid of. The key is to learn how to speak the language of liberty. We start that in level 2. First in level 1, your assumptions. Then in level 2, your language. How you speak the language of liberty. In level 3, we'll talk with you about your constitutions, your charters. Where is the basis of authority? What is the chain of authority? Today we're having a great discussion about the chain of authority with regards to the superintendent of schools in this district. Is there a conflict of interest? In terms of authority, is he paid by the governor, the legislature, the county, the treasurer? Where does he get his policy from? Where does the superintendent, who does he answer to? Who hires him? Who doesn't? The chain of authority is all based in here. It's actually not that complicated. We think it's complicated because it was supposedly written by a bunch of lawyers. Right? And then level 4, we actually take you to pretty much the final step. How many of you have ever written a rule that's affected other people's behavior? How many of you have written rules for government? This is very important. In America, we are the only nation, did you know we're the only nation where you can write the rules? Yet we don't. In North Korea, you're shot for participating in government. In America, you cannot be shot for participating in government. In all seriousness, in North Korea, just a few weeks ago, 30 people underneath Kim Jong-un were executed. And a few months before that, his uncle was executed. And then a couple weeks before that, 80 citizens were drugged into the public square for reading books and watching movies and executed. In America, we're the only nation where you can be self-governing. And that's the ultimate premise of our training program. Self-governance is not making 1,000 decisions for yourself and being left alone. The founders defined self-governance as your self-determination to control your legislature, your county, your city councils, your school boards. And it's our assumption, because they've changed, that it's the vote and the office by which you control it. It's not. It's your self-determination to control your government. And I'm going to finish with this illustration. How many of you have children? So, moms and dads, when you tell the children to take a bath, what's your expectation? Get wet? Right? When you tell them to brush their teeth, brush it, right? You say, eat your food, do your homework, go to bed. When your relationship with your government, I'm going to ask you a very important question, just like a parent with their child, who's in control of whom? In your relationship with your children, who's in control of whom? In your relationship with government, who is in control of whom? We don't know how to control because our assumptions have been changed. We have been trained for the last 150 plus years now, since 1870, that it's the vote and the office by which we keep our republic, and you're still losing it. Ladies, one more next week. You guys can vote and hold office now, right? You feel like you're losing the republic? Well, she couldn't vote, she couldn't hold office. Right? So I challenge you all with this. Learn how to keep the republic. We have phenomenal success with our training program.